Dr. Fauci is the single greatest mass murderer of the modern era. He killed 20 million people. That puts him in the same camp as Stalin, Hitler, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot. Dr. Fauci is the single most evil mass murderer walking the earth today. He's 85 years old. 10 years ago, Dr. Fauci gave this speech on the outset of President Trump being sworn in as president of the United States, where he declared that there's going to be a surprise outbreak during Trump's first term.
The coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak.
And Dr. Fauci has worked for every president since Gerald Ford in the early 70s, and so he's never, and he's had the same job, so he's never declared there's going to be a surprise outbreak. We checked the transcripts. We checked all of the available records to us. Not during Ford, not during Carter, not during Reagan term 1 or 2, not during Bush or Clinton term 1 and 2, or Bush term 1 and 2, or Obama term 1 and 2, has Dr. Fauci, and he served all of them, ever said there'd be a surprise outbreak. He just said it during Trump. And that's why Joe Biden had to grant him a pardon, not a real pardon. It's the auto pen pardon. But Joe Biden gave him a pardon for all of his crimes. Well, why would you pardon somebody who's innocent? They knew that he committed a crime. Dr. Fauci did commit a crime. Dr. Fauci created the COVID virus using Patriot Act funds with his bioweapons programming that he got through the CIA. We know that because Tulsi Gabbard revealed all of it to us. Final day as director of national intelligence, she lobbed a heater at Dr. Fauci, saying that, he directed illegally U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab. And it created the lab leak, and he knew that, and then he lied to Congress about it. And because he lied to Congress about it just a year or two ago, you could charge him, and we should charge him. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that she's over the target because all of the same, like PBS, NPR, CNN, they're all going out saying, no, the COVID-19 documents Gabbard released don't prove her claims about Fauci. You know, would prove it? Charging him. Dragging him in to testify. And now we're finally doing it. Dr. Fauci is subpoenaed after refusing to testify on COVID origins. Fauci has been subpoenaed by Rand Paul, who has been the greatest thorn in the paw of Dr. Fauci. There is the actual subpoena. And you have to now show up and testify. If he doesn't testify, then he goes to prison, right? Isn't that what we learned with Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon? Last week, Anthony Fauci notified us that he will not voluntarily testify between the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, even though he had previously agreed to do so. Therefore, we have issued a subpoena to him directly to testify. It's time for the American people to get answers. Anthony Fauci, my job is to ensure that that happens. Oh, my. So this is going to be a subpoena. He has to appear in Congress at the end of July. So very quickly, don't forget the popcorn. My goodness. The media in Washington treated Dr. Fauci as untouchable. If you lie to Congress, destroy records, mislead the public on the origins of the pandemic that killed millions, then you shouldn't be above scrutiny. And so that's why he's subpoenaed. Rand Paul doing God's work here. Here we go. Fauci. I knew that he was making several contiguous lies to begin with, but he also, from the very beginning, was destroying records, sending letters and notes to the head of NIH saying, read this and destroy this. It sounds more like a CIA talking to each other, not the executive branch. That's against the law. That's a felony. They've already wrapped up one of Dr. Fauci's little lieutenants and charged him for destroying documents. And so now it looks like they are on their way to doing the exact same thing with Dr. Fauci. And you got to be able to test the veracity of these pardons. It'd be such a fun practice for everybody to go through. This is even more proof that Fauci lied to me when he said the NIH has not and does never fund gain of function. U.S. Intel located video proving coronavirus research in China. Fauci continues to deny and lie. Such an evil little goblin. My pronouns are prosecute Fauci, said Elon Musk. One of the biggest bangers ever. It looks like he's going to get his way. Why did Dr. Fauci's NAID, National Infectious Disease And USAID send 44 million of U.S. taxpayer funds to Wuhan, studying the risk of bat coronavirus emergence. It's like obvious when you actually look at the COVID virus itself. So look at it on a molecular level. They took a naturally occurring bat coronavirus. They surgically snipped out the spike protein and inserted a human spike protein in order to make the bat coronavirus infectious to humans. They created a mutant virus. If this bat coronavirus, which exists inside of the natural wells, the gut of the horseshoe bat that exists high in the eastern mountains of China, way up in caves that nobody can reach. The bats don't interact with humans, but even if you did, you grabbed one out of the air and you played with the bat, it wouldn't infect you, even though it's filled with coronavirus, because the coronavirus can't unlock your cells. They don't have the molecular capacity to do that. You just wash your hands and go about your day. You're not infected with anything. You have to add a very specific spike protein to the coronavirus. You have to snip it and insert it. It's an obvious play if you look at it molecularly, what COVID is molecularly. They created the virus in order to infect humans. Did they release it on purpose? Did they release it on accident? Of course they released it on purpose. They did it to rig the election against Trump, put Trump in prison, and you and me in prison for questioning them. We will be seeking answers and accountability. Yes, good job. Here's what we know. U.S. taxpayer money was funneled through USAID, gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab of virality. That research likely caused COVID-19 and killed millions of people and cost us trillions. Dr. Fauci personally signed off on these experiments, and then he lied to Congress about it, and Biden protected him with a last-minute pardon. This is the definition of a cover-up. So let's go ahead and fix that. Claudia Scheinbaum responded to the news of USAID's impending closure positively, saying the agency has financed the political opposition. USAID had so many things. The truth is, it's better that they closed it. USAID is evil organization. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. The normies wake up. I mean, even on Sheridan, the guy who created Taylor Sheridan, the guy who created the Yellowstone series. Joe Rogan says, Tulsi Gabbard gave a press conference. Here, listen to this.
Intelligence that she's leaving. She gave that press conference about Fauci, and she talked about how he lied in front of Congress and that he absolutely used American tax funds to fund gain-of-function research through EcoHealth Alliance and through the Wuhan lab in Wuhan, China. And, no one's covering it.
No. And by the way, didn't we all know that already?
Normies are waking up. How do you prosecute them? Well, let's go ahead and ask Jamie Comer, which we did this morning. This is how you prosecute Dr. Fauci. You say that the pardon was not given by Joe Biden, but given by his staff, and that Joe Biden didn't know anything about it. Here we go. Okay, so you've had some major frustrations with the DOJ and with criminal referrals, and you said that finally that logjam is getting loosed a little bit, and you're really happy about that. What about Dr. Fauci? A lot of news about Fauci. Boy, what a heater that was thrown his direction from Tulsi Gabbard. He's been a thorn in your paw. He's now been subpoenaed by Rand Paul. What's going to happen there?
Well, I think Rand's going to get him in and ask him questions about the information that Tulsi released, because he lied to the House Oversight Committee. We had a select committee, a COVID select committee that was led by Dr. Brad Winstrup from Ohio. He's a retired member now. But we did a criminal referral because he lied to Congress. He lied about destroying emails. He lied about telling employees not to put things in email so he could withhold transparency from the American public at a time when we should have had optimal transparency.
Yeah.
So, Rand has always been focused on whether or not we were funding gain-of-function research. He would say in committee hearings, well, it wasn't gain-of-function research, it was something else. And I think with what Tulsi released, there's more than enough evidence to prove that Dr. Fauci lied about that. So hopefully there'll be another criminal referral in addition to ours in the House from the Senate with respect to Dr. Fauci. And surely to goodness, this new and improved Department of Justice will do the right thing. No one has ever been held accountable for COVID. I mean, you just look at public education. Whether you like public education or not, we suffered because of the requirements by Dr. Fauci and recommendations by Dr. Fauci that kids shouldn't go to school, even though there was never evidence young people were dying of COVID or suffering any health consequences from COVID. So our kids went, and they're behind today. Doesn't matter if they're a senior or if they're in seventh grade. They missed a whole year of public education. And then you saw what it did to our national debt with the ridiculous reaction by Congress, and that's a lot of Republicans' fault, on PPP loan programs and stimulus by the Democrats. And I mean, that just ran our debt up even more, all because of one man who never was truthful about the fact that COVID started in a lab that he was funding in China on a mad science project.
What is the route? And you're the best in the business at this. You've been there with Hunter Biden. What is the route to actually prosecute? Are we just going to test the legal theories in court over this pardon?
Well, look, we brought in all the people in the Biden administration that had anything to do with the pardon process.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people get caught up over the auto pen. Don't even worry about the auto pen. Don't even worry, Benny, that they used the auto pen to sign it, because I don't know that that's a winning case in court. What's a winning case in court is the fact that we brought all these people in, the chiefs of staff for Jill Biden, the chiefs of staff for Joe Biden, all the administrative assistants. No one ever could testify under oath that Joe Biden had a conversation with them about pardoning anybody. We subpoenaed all the emails. We subpoenaed the daily calendar of Joe Biden. There was never a meeting about pardon. There was never any discussion. And the president has the authority to pardon. And there's no limits on that authority, which I think there should be. I think a lot of presidents have abused the pardon process. I'm not happy with a few of the Trump pardons. But at the end of the day, the president has the constitutional authority to do that. Now, whether or not you can use the auto pen, I don't even want to get in that discussion. But we've done all the hours and hours of depositions to prove Joe Biden, as president of the United States, did not authorize those pardons. And that should be enough evidence in court to sustain an executive order by President Trump to declare all those pardons null and void.
And that would be how you'd begin prosecutions against a number.
If he did it by executive order, somebody's going to file a suit. Somebody's going to file a suit saying, no, that's not constitutional because the president has authority to do it. And Joe Biden did it. But there's no evidence he did it. His staff did it. The Constitution does not say the chief of staff for the first lady can pardon people. It does not say the first lady can pardon people. It doesn't say Hunter Biden can pardon people or Ron Klain or anyone else on Joe Biden's staff. They don't have the authority to pardon people. Only the president. And there's no evidence that Joe Biden ever authorized a single pardon. Forget about the auto pen. The evidence is he was never the one to say, yes, I've reviewed the documentation, I've looked at the evidence, and this person deserves a pardon.